Welcome back. In part 2 of What If DEKU Meets Toga, unexpected twists and intense confrontations await. Don't miss out. The next morning, we see our pair in English class with present Mike. Izuku, hey Miko-chan, this is so boring. He whispered. Toga, yeah, I know, but I have a question that has nothing to do with the class. She whispered back with a smile. Izuku, hee, what is it? He whispered with a smile. Toga, you were always smarter than me, so why did you get a lower score than me on the entrance exam? She asked curiously. Izuku, hee, well, since I got my quirk, I spent most of my time improving it, so I had less time to study. He said nervously. Toga, oh, I see. I thought, she couldn't finish because the bell rang, ending the English class. Izuku, finally, it's over. He said while stretching. Toga, yeah, but we still have more classes. She said while hugging Izuku. Izuku, hee, you've been very affectionate lately. He said teasingly. Toga, well, not everyone knows you're my boyfriend, so I want to make it clear that you're mine. She said smiling and blushing a bit. Izuku, hee, it's okay, I don't mind. He said, turning and giving Toga a quick kiss. After that, they waited for their next teacher, who turned out to be AM. Hey, I'm entering the class like a normal person. He said while leaning on the doorframe. Everyone, it's AM, they shouted in unison. Kirishima, cool, he's really a UA teacher. He said smiling. Tsuyu, that suit is from the Silver Age, right? She said, touching her chin. Ojiro, his style is so cool I can't handle it. He said, smiling. AM, I'll be your basic hero training teacher, and today's class is, he said, pointing to the board. Everyone, combat training, they shouted together. AM, exactly, and you'll need these. He said, pressing a button. Several cases popped out of the wall. AM, these are your suits, based on your quirks and the specifications you sent to the academy. Once you're changed, go to the testing area. He said, smiling. After hearing AM's instructions, everyone went to change. They were changing in silence until Mineta spoke up. Mineta, hey guys, look. He said, pointing to a hole in the wall. Kirishima, a hole? What's the big deal? He asked, confused. Mineta, it's a gift from our predecessors. Behind this wall is the girls' changing room. He said, approaching the hole. Ida, Mineta-kun, stop. That's a crime. He said, moving like a robot. Kirishima, Mineta, don't do it. That's not manly. He said, looking at Mineta seriously. Mineta, I don't care. Just imagine Yaoirozu's big boobs, Ashito's slim waist, Hagakure's floating panties, Two's perfect body. He couldn't finish because someone punched him. Mineta, what's your problem, man? He said, rubbing his cheek. Izuku, don't you dare mention Miko-chan. If I catch you spying on the girls again, I'll gouge your eyes out, heal you, and do it over and over until I get bored. Got it? He said with an angry scowl. Everyone was shocked by Izuku's words, even Bakugo had never seen him so angry. They snapped out of it when Izuku spoke again. Izuku, understood? He said with an intimidating aura. Mineta, yes, he almost shouted in fear. With the girls. All the girls were blushing because one of the cutest guys in the class had defended them. Jiro, wow, just when I was about to use my jacks, Midorilla defended us. She said, still blushing. Mina, wow, Himiko-chan, you have a great boyfriend. She said, teasing Toga. Toga, yes, he's very sweet. She said, blushing. Mina, wait, are you really dating? She said, surprised. Toga, yes, we've been together for years. She said with a superior smile. All except Uraka, wow, that's surprising. They said with a hint of sadness. Later, we see everyone in their suits at the testing area. AM, okay, I think everyone is here, so let's start, but he was interrupted by Uraka. Uraka, excuse me, AM, but Himiko and Midorilla are missing. She said, with a hand on her head. AM, right, can you go find TH, but he was interrupted again. Izuku, no need, AM I just couldn't find my katana. He said, smiling. Toga, and I was just helping him, She said with a smile. Uraka, wow, Deku-kun, your suit is amazing, and yours too, Himiko. She said with a smile and a slight blush. Izuku, thanks. He said, smiling. Toga, thanks, hee hee. She said with a smile. Alright, now that we're all here, I'll explain the training. He said, taking out a small book. After explaining that the tests would be 2 versus 2 battles, where one group would be heroes and the other villains. Any questions? He asked with a smile. Ida, how will the groups be chosen? He asked, raising his hand. Uraka, will we be at risk of expulsion if we lose? She asked, a bit nervous. Aoyama, my suit isn't great, it's too shiny. He said with a flamboyant smile. Hold on, that's a lot of questions. Well, the teams will be chosen randomly, and there will be no penalty for losing this test. He said, ignoring Aoyama's comment. Ida, why random teams? Wouldn't it be better to team up with people we know? He asked, adjusting his glasses. Izuku, I don't think so. As heroes, we might have to work with people from other agencies that we don't know. He said, analyzing the situation. Exactly, young Midorilla. He said with a smile. Toga, but there are 21 of us in the class. Will there be a team of 3, she asked, with a finger on her chin. Yes, young Toga, one group will have 3 members. He said, striking one of his quirky poses. From here, things follow the same path as the anime, but Toga was in the group with Ida and Bakugo. Alright, Team Toga, go inside the building and get ready. Team Toga went inside the building and had a discussion. Ida, alright, let's plan a strategy. Midorilla-kun is the most troublesome. He said, thinking aloud. Toga, yes, Izu-kun's quirk will be a big problem. She said nervously. Bakugo, shut up. I'll take down that damn DEKU. He growled. Toga, you won't even be able to touch him, let alone beat him, hee hee. She said mockingly. Bakugo, what did you say, you damn villain? He said, his hands sparking with explosions. Toga, you heard me, you fool. Izu-kun is way stronger than you. She said seriously. Ida, calm down, both of you. He said, stepping between them. Toga, hee hee, well, Ida-kun, let's make our strategy. Bakugo will just go fight Izu-kun. She said with a smile. While Ida and Toga planned their strategy, Izuku and Uraka were also coming up with a plan outside the building. Izuku, okay, I know Bakugo will come after me because of his grudge. I'll defeat him quickly. You sneak around and find the bomb. Let me know when you do through the communicator. He said, putting on his mask. Uraka, are you sure you can beat Bakugo? She asked, doubtful. Izuku, yes, hee hee, it'll be easy. He said with an arrogant smile hidden by his mask. Uraka, that's a bit cocky. She said with a smile and an anime-style sweat drop. Alright, if you're ready, begin. He said through a microphone. After those words, Izuku and Uraka entered the building. As they walked, Izuku pushed Uraka to avoid an explosion. Bakugo, damn DEKU, don't dodge, he said in his typical tone. Izuku, alright, Uraka, go find the bomb as we planned. He said with a smile hidden by his mask. Bakugo, hey, damn nerd, don't ignore me, he said, running towards Izuku. Izuku, ha, don't worry, Bakugo, I'm coming for you. He said, smiling. Uraka left, but Bakugo didn't care, he just wanted to defeat Izuku. Bakugo lunged at Izuku to blast him, but Izuku dodged and struck Bakugo, pinning him to the ground. Izuku, what's wrong, Bakugo? I haven't even used my quirk. He said, mocking Bakugo. Bakugo, shut up, damn DEKU. He said, causing an explosion on the ground to free himself. Izuku, hee hee, let's continue. He said, smiling. Bakugo kept trying to hit Izuku, but Izuku easily dodged every attack. Bakugo, what's wrong, damn DEKU? You have an incredibly powerful quirk. Use it. When you do, I'll beat you because I'm better than you. He shouted angrily. Izuku, you can't even touch me without my quirk, and you want me to use it? You're weird, Bakugo. He said, mocking the blonde. Bakugo, damn DEKU, use it. I'll show everyone that I'm better than you. He said, raising his hands. Izuku, what are you going to do now, Bakugo? He asked with a smile. Bakugo, if they made this suit like I asked, it will work. These grenades aren't just for show, they store my sweat. He said, pointing one at Izuku. Izuku, you know this is just training. If you use that, you'll destroy the building. He said more seriously. Bakugo, I don't care. He said, about to activate the grenade. Wait, young Bakugo, you'll kill your partner if you do that, he said, worried. Bakugo, if he dodges, he won't die. He said, activating his grenade. Izuku watched the explosion and quickly combined his aerokinesis and telekinesis quirks to create a force field, so only he and the explosion were affected. Bakugo, ha ha, see, you nerd, I'm better than you, he laughed loudly. In the observation room, everyone was silent, thinking a student had just been killed. But their fear turned to awe as the smoke cleared. Kaminari, look, the explosion didn't damage the building. He said, surprised. What happened? He said, shocked. Mina, look, there's Midoriya. She said, scared and surprised. Everyone was shocked to see Izuku badly burned, with fourth-degree burns visible. Young Midoriya, are you okay? Hold on, I'll call recovery girl. He said, very worried. Izuku, no need, remember, I can't feel pain. He said with a smile, as his mask had been destroyed. But that quirk only, he started, but was interrupted. Izuku, I told you, don't worry, he said, healing himself. Everyone watched in surprise as Izuku healed, emerging without a scratch, as if the explosion had never happened. Izuku, see, I told you there was nothing to worry about. He said, smiling. Just then, Uraka spoke through the communicator. Uraka, Deku-kun, I found the bomb. It's on the 5th floor. She whispered. Izuku, okay, I'll be there in a few minutes. He said, smiling. Bakugo, damn you, Deku, how, but he couldn't finish, as he fell to his knees. Izuku, shut up, Bakugo. If I hadn't protected the building, it would have been destroyed, hurting others. That's how a villain acts. You mock Miko-chan, calling her a villain because of her quirk. You're trash. He said angrily. Bakugo, shut up, you, but he couldn't finish as Izuku used more telekinesis, pinning him to the ground, unable to move. Izuku, shut your mouth. You have no right to insult Miko-chan. You lost. Accept it and go home, you bastard. He said angrily. Bakugo was about to speak again, but Izuku was in front of him in an instant and knocked him out with a quick move. Bakugo was about to speak again, but Izuku was in front of him in an instant and knocked him out with a quick move. Izuku, one less problem. He said, quickly heading to the 5th floor. When he arrived, he saw Toga had knocked out Uraka. Izuku, wow, you already took out my partner. He said, smiling. Toga, it was easy. She said with a grin. After those words, Izuku and Toga started fighting. Ida tried to help, but Izuku immobilized him with his telekinesis quirk. Izuku, stay there, Ida-kun. This fight is to see who's better at hand-to-hand combat. He said, blocking an attack from Himiko. Toga, you shouldn't get distracted. I have a surprise for you. She said, smiling. Izuku, oh? What is it? He asked, smiling but surprised when Toga vanished. Izuku was about to speak but was knocked out by a swift hit from Toga. Toga, I can erase my presence. She said with a grin. The villains win, he shouted through the microphone. After that, both teams left, with Toga carrying Izuku and Ida carrying Uraka and Bakugo. Well, the villains won. Do you know why? He asked with his characteristic smile. Momo, yes, Toga-san and Ida-kun's participation was spectacular. They formed a plan knowing Midoriya-kun was the most problematic, though Bakugo-san acted out of resentment. Izuku performed well by preventing the building's destruction but became overconfident, allowing Toga-san to knock him out easily. Finally, Uraka got captured and was easily found. She said seriously. Wow, she said more than I expected. He thought. After that, classes ended, but Izuku pretended to stay asleep so he wouldn't have to return. Recovery girl was in on it since she knew Izuku was faking but promised to help her in the infirmary. After classes, Toga went to find Izuku and, seeing him lying down, said, Toga, I know you're awake, Itsu-kun. She said, pulling out a knife. Izuku, I guess I can't fool you. So, are classes over? He asked with a nervous smile. Toga, yes, that's why I came to see you. She said, throwing the knife. Izuku, I guess I lost in training, huh? He said, pulling out the knife and healing himself. Toga, yes, thanks to my secret technique. She said with a smile. Izuku, yeah, that surprised me. But what exactly did you do? He asked, smiling. Toga, if you get distracted for a moment, I can erase my presence. It's almost like becoming invisible. She said with a smile. Izuku, wow, that's awesome, he said, smiling and getting up from the infirmary bed. Toga, yes, but let's go. If we're late, Auntie Inko will kill us. She said, trembling. Izuku, yeah, we better hurry. He said, also trembling. After that, they went home, where they were greeted by Inko, who had a smile and an intimidating aura. Inko, where have you been? She asked, holding a slipper in her hand. Toga, well, I went to see Itsu-kun because I knocked him out during today's training. She said, trembling. Izuku, yes, sorry. But Miko-chan showed me a secret technique that caught me by surprise. He said, also trembling. Inko, wow, so you finally decided to use it. She said, lowering the slipper. Izuku, wait, you knew about it? He asked, surprised. Toga, yes, Auntie Inko helped me perfect it. She said with a smile. Izuku, wow, that's amazing. He said, still surprised. After that, they all went to sleep to prepare for the next day. The next day, we see Izuku and Toga walking towards UA as they talk. Toga, hey Izu-kun, don't you think it was mean to humiliate Bakugo like that? She said, sounding unsure. Izuku, I don't think so. He needs to learn that the world doesn't revolve around him, especially after insulting you. He replied calmly. Toga, maybe you're right. He should grow up. She said with a smile. Izuku, yeah, ever since he awakened his quirk, he's been too full of himself and arrogant. He said with a smile, but a hint of sadness in his voice. Toga, don't worry about it, Izu-kun. One day, he'll realize and change his attitude. She said, giving Izuku a hug. Izuku, yeah, you're right. He said, carrying Toga. Toga, hey Izuku-kun, can we fly to the academy? She asked, clinging to Izuku's back. Izuku, let's go. He said as he started flying with Toga on his back. After that, they headed to UA and arrived early because they flew there. Izuku, I think flying here was a bad idea. We're way too early. He said with an anime-style sweat drop. Toga, that's good. We're alone. She said, pulling out a couple of knives. Izuku, hey, what are you doing with those knives, Miko-chan? Izuku, hey, what are you doing with those knives, Miko-chan? He asked nervously. Toga, relax. You can't feel pain, remember? She said with a smile as she approached Izuku. Izuku, yeah, but, he couldn't finish because Toga started chasing him around. They were like this for a few minutes, Izuku running while Toga chased him, until they were interrupted. Ida, good morning, Midorilla-kun. What were you two doing, and why do you have cuts on your face? He asked, surprised. Toga, huh? Hi, Ida-kun. Don't worry, we were just playing, She said, putting away her knives. Izuku, yeah, playing. He said teasingly while healing himself. Ida, alright, but remember, relationships are forbidden at the academy. You shouldn't behave so closely. He said, doing his robotic walk. After that, everyone else started arriving, and finally, Present Mike arrived too. Aizawa, alright, today we'll have another activity. He said with a serious look. Everyone, what? Another one? But we had an activity yesterday. They said, concerned. Aizawa, silence. What you're going to do is choose the class president. He said calmly, getting into his sleeping bag. Everyone, that's a normal activity. They said almost shouting. Aizawa, do whatever you want to choose, but decide before the end of the hour. He said as he fell asleep. Everyone started shouting, saying they wanted to be the president. Kirishima, I want to be president, pick me, he shouted, raising both hands. Kaminari, me too, he said, raising his hand. Mina, I'll be the leader, she said excitedly. Mineta, if you choose me, I'll make girls' skirts shorter. He said, almost drooling. Izuku, oh, that sounds but he couldn't finish because Toga sat on his lap. Toga, what were you going to say, Izu-kun? She said, looking at him with a smile but a menacing aura. Izuku, nothing. He said, trembling a bit. Ida, everyone, quiet down. It would be best to choose the president or vice president through a vote. He said, standing in front of the entire class. Tsuyu, we don't know each other that well yet. How can we trust someone like that? She said, rubbing her chin. Ida, that's why the person who gets the most votes will be the most suitable for the job. Kirishima, understood. He said with a smile. After that, the students held a vote, which ended up like this. Voting results. Izuku, 7 votes. Momo, 3 votes. Mineta, 2 votes. Bakugo, who voted for that damn nerd. He said, very angry. Kaminari, it's better than voting for you. He said mockingly. Bakugo, what did you say, you damn cheap Pikachu? He said, causing explosions. Ida, calm down, alright then, Midorilla-kun will be our president and Yaoi Orosu-san our vice president. He said, sounding a bit down for not receiving any votes. Izuku, I decline the position and give it to Ida. He said with a military pose. Everyone, huh? Why? They said, puzzled and amazed. Izuku, if I'm president, I'll have to fill out reports or attend meetings, and that's really boring. That's why I'm handing over my position to Ida. He's someone who respects the rules and I know he's the best choice to represent us to the other classes. He said with a serious look. Everyone didn't say anything and started applauding. Kirishima, Midorilla is right, Ida is the best for the job. He said with a smile. Everyone, yes. They said in unison. Ida, if the president asks me to take his place, it's my duty to accept. He said with his robotic movements. And so Ida became president and Momo became vice president. Toga, hey Izuku-kun, that was a good speech, but someone voted for Mineta and I don't know why, but I think it was you. She said, taking out her knives. Izuku, Miko-chan, I swear I wouldn't vote for that pervert. He said nervously, sweating. Toga, are you sure? She said, approaching him. Izuku, yes, he said fearfully. Toga, all right, I believe you, but if I find out you lied to me, it'll be much worse. She said with a smile, putting away the knives. Aizawa, all right, time's up. Have you chosen the president? He said, uncertain. Everyone, yes. They said in unison. Izuku, the president will be Ida and the vice president will be Momo. He said with a smile. Aizawa, all right then, go rest, we have practice later. He said, getting back into his sleeping bag. Everyone went to the cafeteria. Our protagonists went with Ida and Uraka. Ida, are you sure you don't want to be president? He said while eating. Izuku, yeah, don't worry. Like I said, it's a really boring position. He said, eating as well. Toga, so, you made that whole speech just to hide that you didn't want the position because it's boring. She said, laughing a bit. Izuku, in short, yeah, hee hee. But don't get me wrong, Ida, I do think you're the most suitable for the job. He said, smiling. After that, the 4 of them were talking until they were interrupted by an alarm. Alarm, level 3 breach, all students evacuate immediately. Izuku, huh? What's th? But he couldn't finish because everyone started running. Toga, Izu-kun, level 3 means someone has infiltrated UA, she said, sounding uncomfortable as everyone pushed past each other. Izuku, I see, but Ida, as president, you need to stop this and show we made the right choice in the election, he shouted, as they were separated. After that, Ida did the same as in the anime, impressing Kirishima and Kaminari. They told the whole class, boosting their confidence in Ida. Aizawa, alright, first of all, Ida, good job maintaining order. Now, if you want, put on your hero costumes, but it's not mandatory since it might limit your abilities for today's activity. He said, pressing a button. Ida, Professor, what activity are we doing? He asked, raising his hand. Aizawa, rescue training, and it will be outside the academy, so we'll take the bus. Meet me in the courtyard. He said, leaving. After that, everyone changed into their hero costumes and went down to the courtyard, where they saw a bus. Ida, everyone, please board in an orderly fashion. He said, standing at the bus door. Aizawa, today's practice will be led by 3 teachers, myself, AM, and a surprise heroine. He said with his usual bored expression. Everyone sat on the bus and chatted until Tsuyu asked Izuku a question. Tsuyu, hey, Midorilla, I'm straightforward, so I was wondering, what's your quirk? She said, with a serious expression. Izuku, I guess I should have said it sooner, so I'll tell you guys he said with a smile. Everyone went silent, including present Mike, all eyes on Izuku. Izuku, well, my quirk doesn't have a name, but I gave it one myself I call it Hands of God. He said with a smile. Everyone, Hands of God? They said in unison. Suyu, and what does your quirk do, Midorilla? She asked, touching her chin. Izuku, there are several things I can do. For example, I can heal myself or others, and this healing can even regenerate organs or amputated limbs. He said with a smile. Everyone fell silent, and before anyone could speak, Izuku continued. Izuku, besides that, my quirk allows me to see or modify people's memories, and what I think is the most powerful aspect of my quirk is the ability to permanently copy other people's quirks. He said with a smile. Everyone, what? Doesn't that make you practically invincible? They said, very surprised. Toga, basically, it should, but this idiot refuses to copy quirks without the person's permission. She said with a smile. Izuku, I just think it's impolite. He said with a smile. Kirishima, that's such a cool and flashy quirk, unlike mine, which just lets me harden my body. He said, hardening his hand. Izuku, to me, your quirk is awesome. You can be a great spear or a strong shield. Hey, can I copy your quirk? He added nervously at the end. Kirishima, huh? Sure, I don't mind. He said with a smile. Izuku, thanks, but this might bother you a bit. He said with a smile. Kirishima, why? He said, confused. Izuku didn't say anything and just took out his katana and cut Kirishima's arm a bit. Everyone watched as Izuku injured Kirishima and were about to confront him, but they were surprised when they saw Izuku heal him. Izuku, all done. He said with a smile. Kirishima, did you copy it already? He said, confused. Izuku, yeah, sorry, but to copy a quirk, I need to heal a wound. So, even if it's a minor one, I couldn't copy the quirk without it. He said with a smile. Kirishima, don't worry about it. Could you activate my quirk? I want to see if you can really copy quirks. He said with a smile. Izuku, sure, just tell me how you activate your quirk, and I'll do it, He said with a smile. Kirishima, I just think about the part I want to harden, and it becomes really tough. He said with a smile. Izuku didn't say anything and just concentrated. Suddenly, he activated Kirishima's quirk. Everyone was surprised because some still had doubts if he could really copy quirks. Aizawa, all right, stop talking, we've arrived. He said with a serious look, though he was more than surprised inside. Everyone got off the bus and there they found the giant marshmallow. 13, hello, I'm 13. She said, raising a hand in greeting. Uraka, oh, it's 13. I'm a big fan of 13, she said, almost shouting. Izuku, she's a heroine who's saved tons of people in disasters. He said with a smile. 13, all right, enough talking. Let's go inside. She said, heading to the USJ. Inside, everyone was surprised because it was a training ground divided into various sections like fire, storms, landslides, etc. 13, before we begin, do you all know what my quirk is? She asked in a questioning tone. Izuku, your quirk is Black Hole, which has allowed you to save several people from disasters. 13, exactly, but just like how it saves people, it's also a quirk that can easily kill people, like yours. She said seriously. Everyone pondered her words but were brought out of their thoughts as 13 began speaking to them. 13, don't worry, that's why we're having this training, so your quirks are used to save lives, not to kill. She said cheerfully. Aizawa, hey, 13, where's AM? He asked, uncertainly. 13, well, he said he was out being a hero but would join us later. She said with a smile. Aizawa, that's the life of being the symbol of peace. Anyway, let's begin. But he couldn't finish because the lights went out. Izuku, huh? A power outage? He said, unsure. Toga, I don't think so, look. She said, with a serious look. Izuku turned to where Toga pointed and saw a purple portal in the middle of everything. Izuku, Aizawa, what's that? He said, uncertainly. Aizawa, I don't know. He said seriously. Izuku, huh? It's not part of, but again, he was interrupted because from the portal, a person with a hand on their face appeared. We left off with a sky blue figure peering out from the portal. All the students stared at the portal with confusion, while the two teachers were alert. After a few seconds, several people emerged from the portal, saying, "Nice to meet you, we are the League of Saying." Kirishima remarked, "Wow, as expected from UA, they even have fake villains," with a smile. Aizawa countered, "Hold on, they're not fake, they're real villains," adjusting his glasses. Izuku requested, "Aizawa, let me copy your quirk, I might need it," with a serious look. Aizawa agreed, "Fine, but be quick," scratching himself lightly. Izuku asked, "How do I activate it?" Still serious. Aizawa instructed, "Just focus on the person whose quirk you want to erase. Remember, blinking restores their quirk, before leaving." Before leaving, Aizawa instructed his students not to help and asked 13 to watch over them. Meanwhile, with the villains, Shigaraki questioned Kurogiri about the teacher's whereabouts, mentioning AM from the other day. Kurogiri responded uncertainly, "I don't think so. Maybe there was a change. Shall I find out?" Shigaraki ordered, "Go, and incapacitate 13 quickly." With the students, Izuku expressed concern for Aizawa's safety, but 13 suggested they find reinforcements instead. Toga added, "Let's hurry, Izu-kun. If we get help quickly, we can assist better." Before Izuku could respond, a purple mist appeared. Kurogiri introduced, "Nice to meet you. We're the League of Villains, here to eliminate the symbol of peace. AM should be here. Was there a change?" Without delay, Kirishima and Bakugo attacked, but the mist was unaffected. 13 commanded, "No, retreat," activating their quirk. However, Kurogiri swiftly opened portals, affecting 13. Izuku acted fast, deactivating Kurogiri's quirk and healing 13. Izuku shouted, "Attack now." The students engaged Kurogiri but were dispersed across USJ when his quirk reactivated. As Izuku fell into a pit, a villain mocked, "Hey kid, come down and play. Or are you scared?" Confused, Izuku asked, "Who are you?" The villain proudly declared, "One of the recruited villains to take down AM." Izuku, "Hey, they won't be able to do it," he said confidently. After those words, he landed on the boat where he saw Tsuyu and Mineta. "Tsuyu, hello, Midoriya-kun." She greeted, waving with one hand. "Mineta, Midoriya? We're saved," he exclaimed, looking at the green-haired boy. Izuku, "Hee, calm down. First, we need to get out of here quickly because they're trying to destroy the boat," he said, pointing at several villains. "Tsuyu, how do we do that?" she asked, uncertain. "Izuku, tell me about your quirk so we can make a plan," he said, smiling. "Tsuyu, my quirk lets me do everything a frog can do. I can jump high, stick to walls, and my tongue stretches about 20 meters," she said, looking serious as the boat had been damaged and was sinking. "Mineta, my quirk allows me to pull these balls from my head. Depending on my mood, they can stick anywhere all day," he said calmly, sticking one of his balls onto the boat. Tsuyu and Izuku looked at him without saying a word. Mineta, "Yeah, I know, my quirk is useless," he said, shouting with a few tears. Izuku, "It's not that. I was just thinking of a plan, and I'm going to try something else," he said with his characteristic smile. Mineta, "Now?" he said, doubtful and tearful. Izuku, "Yes, I'm going to try to repair the boat," he said, placing his hands on the boat. Tsuyu, "Your quirk doesn't just heal people, does it?" she asked, uncertainly. Izuku, "Yes, but I want to see if I can repair objects too," he said, activating his quirk. Surprisingly, the boat started to repair itself, astonishing not only Tsuyu and Mineta but also the villains. Izuku, "It worked. And I have a plan now," he said happily. Tsuyu, "What's the plan, Midoriya-kun?" she asked, still surprised by what Izuku did. Izuku, "Listen up. I'm going to fly over the lake and strike the water to create a whirlpool. This will gather all the villains together. At that moment, Asui-san, you'll grab Mineta with your tongue and lift him up so he can throw his balls into the water, immobilizing the villains," he said with a smile. Tsuyu, "Okay, but don't call me Asui. Just call me Tsuyu-chan," she said, with her frog-like gaze. Izuku, Alright, Tsuyu-chan. Mineta, are you ready? He said, giving a serious look. Mineta, yes, he shouted, tearfully. Izuku began to fly and struck the water with one for all activated only in his finger, as he believed using it with his whole hand might harm the villains severely. Izuku, now, he shouted. At that moment, Tsuyu lifted Mineta with her tongue, and he started throwing his balls into the water, immobilizing the villains. Izuku, it worked. Now, we need to go help 13. She was fighting several villains and might need assistance. He said. Tsuyu nodded, but Mineta started crying and shaking his head, suggesting they wait for reinforcement heroes instead. Izuku, Mineta, if you want to be a hero, you have to take risks. I won't force you, but I'm going to help Aizawa-sensei. He said seriously. Mineta, fine, I'll go. But don't expect me to fight villains. He said, still crying. Izuku, alright, just don't get in the way. He said, a bit annoyed by Mineta's attitude. Both were surprised but said nothing, simply following Izuku who had flown away. Toga was sent with Momo and the others, proving helpful as Kaminari didn't act like an idiot and they defeated everyone. After that, they went to where 13 was. Izuku, Tsuyu, and Mineta had already arrived but were shocked to see their teacher being attacked by the steroid chicken. Izuku, damn, we're late. We need to help Aizawa-sensei. He rushed towards his teacher. Shigaraki, looks like you've lost, Eraserhead. Let's see how All Might's successor doesn't show up. We'll destroy his pride. He looked at Tsuyu and Mineta. Shigaraki moved quickly towards Tsuyu to kill her but couldn't get close. Shigaraki, huh? What's this? He touched some kind of invisible wall. Izuku, that was close, he sighed in relief. Shigaraki, it was you, Snots, but he couldn't finish because Izuku was about to punch him. Izuku, did I get him? He wondered, seeing the smoke he caused. Shigaraki, no, you didn't, he laughed. Izuku was surprised because he hadn't hit Shigaraki but the steroid chicken instead. Izuku, what? When did it arrive? It's so fast, he said, surprised. Shigaraki, Nomu, kill that brat, he ordered. Nomu rushed to punch Izuku, who dodged with difficulty. Izuku, damn, it's too fast. Tsuyu-chan, Mineta-kun, take Aizawa-sensei to 13 and give this to Miko-chan, he shouted, throwing a vial with his blood. Tsuyu and Mineta did as Izuku said and quickly left with an unconscious Aizawa. Izuku, alright, let's begin, he said, launching several punches at Nomu. After that, Izuku started hitting Nomu with one for all without holding back, but it still didn't scratch it. Izuku, damn, why can't I scratch you? He asked, healing quickly. Shigaraki, haha, you won't be able to defeat my Nomu. It's designed to kill All Might, it has 3 quirks, impact absorption, super strength, and advanced regeneration. He laughed at our green-haired hero. Izuku, damn, if one for all isn't enough, I need more strength, he said frustrated, unknowingly damaging his body. Shigaraki, huh? Why are you hurt if Nomu hasn't hit you? He asked, puzzled. Izuku, huh? He said confused, realizing his body was damaged. Izuku noticed and started healing, but kept hurting himself. Izuku, what the hell is happening? He asked angrily. Izuku dodged and hit Nomu, the punch being much stronger, sending it flying into a wall. Izuku, huh? That punch was only with one for all, so why was it stronger? He asked, starting to float as Nomu almost hit him. Izuku began to think and concluded that his body couldn't handle the physical enhancement. Izuku, damn, if it's what I'm thinking, this works like one for all. I need to lower the intensity, he said, still healing. Izuku concentrated until he succeeded and his body stopped hurting. Izuku, alright, I did it, he said, landing. Izuku ran towards the Nomu, striking it too quickly for it to react. Izuku, alright, I'm stronger this way, but if it hits me, I'm done for. That guy said it has a quirk for absorbing impacts. I'm going to copy that, he decided. Izuku pondered how to inflict a major wound, knowing a small one would heal instantly. Izuku, alright, I'll use my katana to cut off its arm, he said, drawing his katana. Izuku went at the Nomu, slashing it repeatedly, but the cuts weren't deep. Izuku, damn, not enough. If I use too much strength, the katana might break. Izuku paused, dodging Nomu's attacks, then fed up, used his telekinesis quirk to make Nomu fly, immobilized. Izuku, wait, I can wrap my katana with telekinesis, he said, covering it except for the sharp part. Nomu struggled and broke free, unsurprising Izuku, who concentrated on his katana. Izuku began running at Nomu, swiftly cutting off its arm. Shigaraki, what? How did he wound my Nomu? He said, scratching his neck. Izuku wasted no time in healing Nomu, copying its impact absorption quirk. Shigaraki and Kurogiri, what? The kid healed Nomu, they said, surprised. Izuku, don't be mistaken. I'm not a villain. Thanks to this, that thing can't hurt me anymore, he laughed. Shigaraki, nonsense. Nomu, kill him, he yelled. Izuku stood still, taking Nomu's blow and making the villains think they'd won. Shigaraki, see, kid? You can't defeat A. But he stopped short, seeing Izuku unscathed. Izuku, finished? He said, mocking. Kurogiri, how are you alive after taking a direct hit from Nomu? He asked, surprised. Izuku, hee, I won't give my info to villains, he laughed. Izuku quickly beheaded Nomu, who fell dead to the ground. Izuku, wow, so its weak spot was the head, he said, surprised. Kurogiri, Shigaraki, let's go. We lost, he said, opening a portal. Shigaraki, fine, let's go, he said, disappointed. Izuku, you're not going anywhere, he said, running towards the two villains. Izuku was about to attack but was interrupted by a shout. All Might, don't worry, because I'm here, he said, leaping in. Izuku looked back at the villains, but they were gone. Izuku, damn, he said, heading towards All Might. All Might, what happened here, young man? He asked, surprised. Izuku began telling him everything, including his new abilities. All Might, that's amazing, young man, but why did you kill that thing? He asked, serious. Izuku, well, it's not human, maybe a homunculus, and it tried to kill me, he said, serious. All Might, well, I'll take it as self-defense, he said, smiling again. After that, they returned to where 13 and their classmates were. Toga, Izu-kun, are you okay? Nothing happened to you, she said, worried about her boyfriend. Izuku, don't worry, Miko-chan, I'm fine. Besides, I have a new quirk and learned that mine has more abilities. Toga, that's good. Later, let's go to the beach, and you can show them to me, she said, playfully punching Izuku. Izuku, yeah, but why do you hit me? He said, pretending to be hurt. Toga, because I worry about you, you idiot. Even if you don't feel pain, you're not immortal. You can still die, so you need to take better care of yourself, she said, tears welling up. Izuku, sorry, Miko-chan, I didn't mean to worry you, he said, kissing Toga. Toga stopped crying when she felt the kiss and kissed him back until they were interrupted. Nezu, ahem, you should know that relationships are prohibited in the academy, he said seriously. Izuku, yes, I know, but we've been together for years. I'm not going to leave her just because of your rules, he said seriously. Nezu, well, you can be a couple only as a special case and in gratitude for helping the teachers and students, he said, bowing. Toga, it's all thanks to Izu-kun. If he hadn't given me his blood, I couldn't have healed everyone, she said, smiling. Izuku, it's true. How are you still in your outfit if you transformed into me? He said, confused. Toga, oh, that was thanks to Momo. She made me a new outfit, she said with a smile. Izuku, really? Well, thank you, Momo-san, he said, smiling at her, which made her blush. Momo, you're welcome, Midorilla-kun, she said, blushing. Seeing that, Toga hugged Izuku like a plush toy and said to him. Toga, let's go, Izu-kun. You have to show me your new abilities, she said, climbing onto Broccoli's back and holding a knife to his neck. Imagine them in their hero costumes. Izuku, all right, let's go, he said nervously, smiling. After that, everyone went home. They were also given a few days off to rest and recover their energy. The next morning, we see Izuku just waking up. Izuku, I slept so well. Since we have 3 days off, I don't have to worry about classes. He said as he got out of bed. Izuku went downstairs to the kitchen and found only his mother cooking. Izuku, good morning, Mom. Isn't it too early for you to be cooking? He asked, unsure. Inko, early? It's already 2 in the afternoon. You're the one who sleeps in so late. She said with a small smile. Izuku, huh? Then where's Miko-chan? He asked, confused. Inko, I sent her to the store to get some milk. She said, smiling. Izuku, ah, okay. Since I have nothing to do, I'm going to the beach. During the attack, I discovered new abilities with my quirk. I want to investigate it more, maybe awaken more abilities. He said with a smile. Inko, huh? You discovered new abilities? What are they? She asked, surprised. Izuku, yeah, well, I found out I can repair objects and increase my physical abilities limitlessly. But if I push it beyond what my body can handle, I tear myself up and get really hurt. He said nervously. Inko, that's quite amazing. Your quirk is really cool. Have you come up with a name for it? She asked, smiling. Izuku, yeah, most of my abilities activate through my hands, so I decided to call it Hands of God. He said with a smile. Inko, that's a good name and it suits your quirk. I like it. She said, laughing. Izuku, yeah, hee hee. Well, I'm off, Mom. I'll be back late. He said, putting on his shoes. Inko, okay, bye Izuku. Don't come back too late. She waved goodbye. Izuku finished getting ready and was about to leave, but when he opened the door, he found Toga. Toga, oh? Good morning, Izu-kun. Where are you going? She said, smiling. Izuku, good morning, Miko-chan. I'm going to the beach to investigate my quirk. He said, smiling. Toga, wait for me, I'll come with you. She said as she headed to the kitchen. Izuku, all right, I'll wait here for you, hee hee. He said with a smile. After Toga gave the milk to Inko, the two left the house to investigate Izuku's quirk. Toga, hey, Izu-kun, why don't we go see a doctor who can examine your quirk? Maybe we'll find someone who has the quirk to examine quirks. She said, smiling. Izuku, you're right, but I don't trust doctors to keep my quirk a secret. He said, returning the smile. Toga, what if we ask around and if we find someone with the right quirk, you can copy it? She said, laughing. Izuku, I don't like copying quirks without telling the person first, but I guess this time could be an exception. He said, scratching his head. After that, Izuku and Toga started going to hospitals and asking doctors about the quirk, pretending it was for a school project. Izuku, sigh, we've been searching for over 2 hours, but we haven't found anything. He said, feeling down. Toga, come on, Izu-kun, don't give up. We just need this last one. If we don't find what we're looking for, you'll have to discover your quirk on your own. She said, pulling Izuku along. They were about to enter the hospital when an explosion happened at the corner of the street. Izuku, let's go, Miko-chan, maybe we can help. He said and started running. Toga, okay, but let's only intervene if they need help. She said, running. When they arrived, they realized it was indeed a villain trying to rob a small store. Izuku, he said, thinking. Toga, is something wrong, Izu-kun? She asked, uncertain. Izuku, well, I'm intrigued that the villain hasn't used their quirk. He said, rubbing his chin. Toga, seems like they're either quirkless or their quirk isn't combat effective. But the heroes can't do anything because of the hostage. She said, looking serious. The explosion was caused by the Holy Spirit. Izuku, so that's it, then I guess they don't need our hell, but he was interrupted by the hostage's scream. Izuku acted without thinking, immobilizing the villain and approaching him. Izuku, hey, why did you decide to become a villain? He asked, puzzled. Villain, at first, like every kid, I wanted to be a hero. But everyone said my quirk was useless, that I should give up. So I decided to prove them right, if I couldn't be a hero, I'd be a villain. He said, straining to move. Izuku, what's your quirk? To me, no quirk is useless. He said, smiling. Villain, my quirk is, it only lets me know someone else's quirk. He said, looking down. Izuku, wow, that's great. You could have been a great hero, but you gave up. He said warmly. Villain, nonsense. How can I be a hero with a quirk like this? He said, eyes teary. Izuku, it's easy. Not every hero needs a combat quirk. Take Eraserhead, for example, his quirk erases quirks. he said as he disarmed the villain. Villain, he has an amazing quirk, he can fight hand to hand without a quirk, but what can I do with mine? He said, ceasing to struggle. Izuku, if you were a hero, you could have warned your teammates about the enemy's quirk, making it easier to capture him. Besides, you're not the only one with a non-combat quirk. Another example is Mandalay, whose quirk only allows her to send telepathic messages. He said with a smile. The villain fell silent and stared at Izuku. Villain, I guess you're right. If someone had told me the same thing years ago, maybe I would have been a hero. He said with a smile. Izuku just looked at the villain with a gentle gaze and then said. Izuku, you're right, but you can still be a hero when you get out of jail, you can choose your path again. He said, smiling. Villain, you're right, thank you. And don't worry, you can copy my quirk. He said quietly so only Izuku could hear. Seeing Izuku's quirk, he assumed he helped to copy his quirk. Izuku, thank you. He said with a smile. Izuku used his aerokinesis quirk and discreetly made a small cut on the villain to then heal him. Toga, if you're done, we should leave quickly or the heroes will scold us. She said, shaking Izuku back and forth. Izuku, yeah, you're right, let's go. He said, carrying Toga like a princess. Toga, I feel like a princess. She said, laughing. Izuku, you're my princess, he said, giving Toga a tender kiss. Hero, hey, hold on. You're under arrest for using your quirk without permission. He said, approaching our protagonists. Izuku, I don't think so. I helped that ex-villain. He said, starting to fly. The hero was about to speak again but couldn't because Izuku and Toga had already flown away. Izuku, let's go home now and see what my quirk can do. He said, laughing a bit shyly. Toga, yeah, you'll need my help, she said, equally blushing. When they got home, Izuku and Toga went to his room, which Inko used to tease them a bit. Inko, I'm not ready for grandchildren yet, she joked. Izuku and Toga blushed but continued to Izuku's room. Izuku, so you're going to take my blood, right? He asked, blushing. Toga, yeah, she said, blushing and sitting on Izuku with a knife. After Toga took Izuku's blood, she went to Izuku's bathroom to undress so as not to ruin her clothes. Toga, all right, I'm ready. She said, coming out of the bathroom. Izuku, yeah, I see that. Can you see my quirk now? He asked, uncertainly. Toga, I'm not sure how to activate it, she said nervously. Izuku, I guess you just have to focus on me, like the villain did. He said, smiling. Toga followed his advice and started staring at Izuku intensely, and within seconds, she began to see some letters next to Izuku. Izuku, so, did it work? He asked, unsurely. Toga, huh? Yes, it worked. I can see the abilities and weaknesses of your quirk. She said, somewhat surprised. Izuku, that's amazing. But what are the weaknesses of my quirk? He asked, uncertainly. Toga, well, I think you only have two weaknesses, You get headaches and it drains your energy. She said, smiling. Izuku, oh, I see. Since I have pain nullification, I don't feel the headaches, and when I heal, I regain my energy, so the second one isn't a problem. It feels like I'm cheating. He said with a smile. Toga, it does feel like cheating. Your quirk is too cool. She said, smiling. Izuku, and what abilities does my quirk give me? He asked, uncertainly. Toga explained Izuku's quirk, everything I put in the clarifications. Izuku, wow, that's amazing. I'll test it out tomorrow or another day. He said, smiling. Toga, hey Izukun, can you see my quirk now? I want to know if I can do more things. She said excitedly. Izuku, okay, but go change first because if I see your quirk now, I might just see mine since you're transformed into me. Toga went straight to the bathroom to change, and after coming out, she ran to Izuku. Toga, I'm ready, Izukun. Now, check out my quirk. She said, laughing. Izuku, all right, let's see. He said, staring intently at Toga. Toga, so, Izukun, do I have more abilities? She asked, excitedly. Izuku, I'm sorry, Miko-chan, but you don't just have the abilities we've already seen. He said, looking at Toga. Toga, I see. She said, feeling down. Izuku, don't be sad, Miko-chan. How about we have a date to have fun? He said, smiling warmly. Toga, huh? Yes, let's have a date. We've never had one before, whenever we went out, it was just for training. She said with a big smile. Izuku, you're right, hee. He said, smiling. Toga, so, tomorrow we're going on the date, right? Then I'll go to bed to wake up early. She said, heading to her room. Izuku, yes, hee. Good night, Miko-chan. He said with a smile. The next morning, we see Izuku waiting for Toga to go on their date. Izuku, well, I've never had a date before, so I guess I'll take her to the amusement park. He said, a bit unsure where to take Toga. Toga, I'm ready, Izu-kun, let's go. She said, coming down the stairs. Izuku, that outfit looks great on you, Miko-chan. You look very lovely. He said, smiling. Toga, thank you, Izu-kun. You look handsome too. She said with a smile, blushing a little. Izuku, all right, let's go. He said, taking Toga's hand. Toga, hey, Izu-kun, where are you taking me? She asked, smiling. Izuku, well, I was thinking of spending the day at the amusement park. He said, smiling. Toga, that's great. I've never been to an amusement park before. She said, excitedly. Izuku, you'll see, this will be the best day of your life. He said, smiling. Toga, I doubt it. The best day was when I met you or when you became my boyfriend. She said, smiling, a bit blushingly. Izuku, that's very cheesy. He said, blushing. Toga, hee, I know. She said, smiling. Izuku and Toga were walking until they reached the amusement park. Toga, wow, it's so big, she said, surprised. Izuku, yeah, let's see which ride you want to try first. He said, smiling. Toga, that one. She said, pointing at the roller coaster. Izuku, are you sure? He said, a little scared. Toga, yes, what's wrong? Are you scared? She said teasingly. Izuku, ha, me scared? Ridiculous. He said, trembling a little. Toga, then let's go. She said, pulling Izuku along. Izuku, wait, Miko-chan, let's try other rides first. It's not that I'm scared, I just find this one boring. He said, trembling as he resisted. Toga, hee, don't worry. I promise it won't be boring. She said, while lining up. Izuku, all right, but don't blame me if you get bored. He said, silently hoping reverse psychology would work. Toga, hee, reverse psychology won't work here. Whether you like it or not, you're going up with me. Izuku and Toga got on the roller coaster. Toga was excited, but Izuku looked like he was about to die. Toga, ha, don't worry, Izu-kun, nothing will happen to you. She said, raising her hands. Izuku, I think I'm going to die. He said, gripping the safety rail tighter. Toga, what a crybaby. She said, teasing him. Izuku, shut up. He said, trembling. After the roller coaster ride, we see a very happy Toga but a very scared Izuku. Toga, I told you were scared, ha. She said, laughing. Izuku, yeah, that's what you think. I just remembered a horror movie. He said, trying to calm down. Toga, ha, sure you did. She said, laughing. Izuku, let's forget about that. Let's go get some ice cream instead. He said, trying to change the subject. Toga, yeah, hee, strawberry for me. She said, smiling. Izuku, all right, I'll be right back. He said, going to buy the ice creams. After Izuku left, 4 guys approached Toga. Guy 1, hey cutie, why are you alone? He said, trying to sound like a tough guy. Toga, huh? No, I'm not alone. I'm with my boyfriend, he just went to buy some ice creams. She said, serious. Guy 2, come with us instead, we're better than that little boyfriend of yours. He said with an egotistical smile. Toga, ha, yeah right. My boyfriend is way better than you guys. She said, laughing. Guy 3, I doubt it, he's just a wimpy kid, you're too much for him. He said, trying to grab Toga's hand. Toga, don't you dare touch me. She said, with a serious look. Guy 4, let's stop playing around, you're coming with us if you don't want us to, But he couldn't finish because he started to float. Izuku, if she doesn't want you to what? He said, uncertainly. Guy 2, who are you, kid? He said, activating his quirk, which created fire. Izuku, I'm that lovely girl's boyfriend. He said, smiling. Guy 3, ha, I told you he's too much for that kid. He said, approaching Izuku. Toga, I don't think so, he's the best boyfriend. She said, laughing. Guy 1, then we'll humiliate him here to show you how insignificant that kid is. He said, freezing Izuku's legs. Izuku, a fire quirk and an ice quirk will be useful, hee. He said, activating his aerokinesis quirk to break free from the ice. Guy 3, what do you mean? He said, activating his quirk, which allowed blades to protrude from his hands, like Wolverine. Guy 4 still couldn't move XD. Izuku, wow, your quirk is interesting too. Let's see what this guy's quirk is. He said, releasing Guy 4. Guy 4, damn it. He said angrily, activating his quirk, which created threads from his fingers. Izuku, hee, all 4 of you have strong quirks, I see where all that arrogance comes from. He said, using his aerokinesis quirk to generate a strong gust of wind. Guys 1, 2, and 4 launched their quirks at Izuku, but he just created a strong wind blast that made all 3 attacks disappear. Izuku, if that's all, I'm disappointed. He said, dodging several attacks from Guy 3. Guy 2, shut up, this is just beginning. He said, throwing a fireball. Izuku, hee, I hope so. Don't disappoint me. He said, dodging the fireball, causing it to hit Guy 3. Guy 1, damn it. He said, shooting ice arrows. Izuku generated air bullets that broke the arrows and hit Guy 2, knocking him unconscious. Izuku, hee, 2 down, 2 to go. He said, laughing. Chico 4, damn it. He said, grabbing Izuku with his threads. Izuku, hee. He said, activating his telekinesis to immobilize Guy 4. Izuku increased the pressure in his grip, causing Guy 4 to faint, which made the threads disappear. Guy 1, damn I but couldn't finish as he fell unconscious. Toga, damn, don't they know any other insults? She said, laughing. Izuku, even if you ask them, they won't respond. He said, with an anime-style sweat drop. Toga, oh, right. So, you're going to copy their quirks, aren't you? She said, smiling. Izuku, bingo. Their quirks are pretty good, but they don't know how to use them. He said, smiling. After copying their quirks, Izuku used the thread quirk to tie them up. Izuku, alright, let's go buy some ice creams, the ones I brought have melted already. He said, nervously smiling. Toga, yeah, let's go hee. She said, taking Izuku's hand. After that, Izuku and Toga spent the afternoon riding various attractions, with Izuku refusing to go on most of them. Izuku, hee, that was a fun afternoon. He said, smiling. Toga, yeah hee. She said, with a hint of sadness, hugging a plushie she won with Izuku. Izuku, is something wrong, Miko-chan? Didn't you enjoy the date? He said, concerned. Toga, it's not that, it's just that it was so much fun that I don't want the day to end. She said, looking up. Izuku, hee, you sound like a kid. Don't worry, we can come back another day. He said, smiling. Toga, it's a promise. She said, raising her pinky. Izuku, yeah, it's a promise. He said, hooking his pinky with hers. After that, they returned home and told Inko everything they did. Inko, wow, so 4 new quirks? At this rate, you'll be invincible. She said, laughing. Izuku, hee, yeah. He said, nervously smiling. Toga, well, and Inko, we're going to bed. Tomorrow we're going to the beach to train Izuku's new quirks. She said, pulling Izuku along. Izuku, good night, Mom. He said, smiling. Inko, good night, Izuku. Good night, Himiko. She said, smiling as well. 3 days had already passed since students were given for their recovery. Izuku and Toga were in the classroom chatting. Izuku, hey Miko-chan, what subject do we have now? He asked uncertainly. Toga, let me check. It's guidance with Caterpillar Mom. She said, looking at a notebook. Sero, shouldn't she be in the hospital recovering? He questioned doubtfully. Izuku, I remember Miko-chan healed Caterpillar Mom in 13, so I don't think there should be a problem. He said with a smile. Toga, hee hee, exactly, I healed both of them. She said, smiling. Mina, didn't you heal them, Midorilla-kun? She asked, touching her chin. Izuku, no, it was Miko-chan, but she was transformed as me. He said, smiling. Mina, hey Toga-chan, what's your quirk? The pink-haired girl asked curiously. Toga, well, my quirk allows me to transform into anyone by ingesting their blood. Also, I can use the quirk of the person I transform into. She said, tapping her chin. Mina, I see, it's a scary quirk but very effective, especially if you can turn into Midorilla-kun whenever you want. She said with a smile. Toga, yeah, hee hee, but I try to be strong on my own and not rely on Izu-kun. She said, smiling. Izuku, and believe it or not, Miko-chan is very skilled in martial arts. He said, smiling. Everyone continued chatting until Aizawa arrived. Aizawa, all right, quiet down. He said, entering the room. Everyone fell silent and took their seats. Aizawa, all right, don't relax yet, the battle isn't over. He said, with his indifferent gaze. Mineta, more villains? He exclaimed, sounding scared. Aizawa, silence. What I mean is that the sports festival is approaching. He said, writing on the board. Everyone, it's a normal school activity. They said, smiling. Jiro, wait, is it safe to have a festival after the attack? She asked, raising her hand. Tailman, what if they attack again? He asked, sounding worried. Aizawa, that won't be a problem, security has been increased fivefold compared to last year. He said, in his disinterested tone. Izuku, plus, this event can show the public that UA won't stop just because of a simple villain attack. He said, touching his chin. Aizawa, exactly, so you have 2 weeks to prepare and demonstrate what you're capable of to impress hero agencies. He said, getting into his sleeping bag. Kirishima, this is going to be so much fun. He said, smiling. Aizawa, this event only happens once a year, so you have 3 chances to shine. Don't waste them. Class dismissed. He said, leaving the room. After class. Izuku, finally. I was getting way too bored. He said, standing up from his seat. Toga, you're such a lazy guy, Izu-kun, but I don't blame you, most of what you do is train. She said with a smile. Izuku, hee hee, I guess so. He said, opening the door to his classroom. Upon opening the door, they saw several students in front of Class 1A. Izuku, huh? And who are you guys? He asked, uncertainly. Bakugo, clearly, they're extras here to scope out the competition. He said, sparks flying from his hands. Shinso, so this is Class 1A. Seems like it's full of arrogant ones. He said, with a deadpan tone. From here, the same Shinso and Bakugo argument ensued. Shinso, I'll make them my dogs at the festival. Bakugo, shut up, you damn extra. Shinso, they're all the same. Underscore. End of discussion. Izuku, if you've come to declare war on my class, I hope you're not a disappointment. I think I can have fun with you. He said, taking Toga's hand. After that, Izuku and Toga left, ignoring everyone else. Time skip, 2 weeks. After the 2 weeks, we see our favorite class in their dressing room, so to speak. Mina, that sucks, I wanted to wear my hero costume. She said, disappointed. Tailman, to keep things fair, we can't wear our hero costumes. He said, stretching. Ida, is everyone ready? We'll be entering soon, he shouted. Todoroki, Midorilla. He said, calling Izuku. Izuku, Todoroki, what's up? He said, approaching Todoroki. Todoroki, honestly, I think you're stronger than me, but I'm still going to defeat you in this festival. Kaminari, oh, the second best in class declaring war on the first. He said, smiling. Kirishima, hey, wait, why are you starting a fight all of a sudden? He said, grabbing Todoroki's shoulder. Todoroki, I didn't come here to make friends. He said, removing Kirishima's hand. Izuku, Todoroki, I don't know why you think you can beat me, but if you're only using 50% of your power, I assure you won't even touch me. Everyone's going to give their best to be recognized, so I hope you don't disappoint, Todoroki. He said, leaving the dressing room. After that brief scene, we see a screen light up in the stadium. Present mic, hey, attention everyone. The UA Sports Festival is about to begin. Are you ready? He said cheerfully. Audience, they screamed loudly. Present mic, that's the spirit. Here are the miraculous new stars who survived the villain attack, Class 1A, he said excitedly. At that moment, Class 1A entered the arena with Izuku and Toga at the forefront. Present mic, they haven't been on the scene long, but their class is full of talent. And here's Class 1B, he shouted. After those words, Class 1B came out with Monoma and Kendo leading the way.
Present mic, next up, General Studies, Classes C, D, and E, Support Course, Classes F, G, and H, and Business Course, Classes I, J, and K.
He said with a smile. Izuku, I think that's a bit discriminatory, ha. He said, with an anime-style drop of sweat. Toga, yeah, he. She said, matching him with an anime-style drop of sweat. Midnight, alright, we'll begin the festival after a few words from Class 1A's representative, Izuku Midorilla. She said, swaying her hips. Izuku, huh? Me? He said, surprised. Toga, I guess you'll grace us with your words, Izu-kun. She teased the green-haired boy. Izuku just headed to the platform and grabbed the microphone to begin speaking. Izuku, well, first of all, let me make it clear that I will be the winner of this festival. But don't get me wrong, give it your all. We're here to be heroes, so don't disappoint the audience. Go beyond your limits, plus ultra, he shouted the last part. Audience, plus ultra, they shouted in unison. Midnight, strong but encouraging words from Class 1A's representative. But without further ado, let's begin the festival. She said, smiling. Toga, that was a declaration of war, he. But I won't lose. She said, laughing. Izuku, I've promised it, so I'll win this festival. He said, returning the smile. Midnight, alright, and now for the first event. This one. She said, pointing at a screen. Izuku, obstacle race? He said, looking at the screen. Midnight, the 11 classes will compete in a 4-kilometer obstacle race filled with challenges to overcome. Now, take your positions. She said, raising her hand. After those words, all the classes headed to the starting line for the race. Midnight, ready, set, go, she shouted, cracking her whip on the ground. All the students started running, and in one corridor, they began jostling until a breeze was felt, and the area froze over. Todoroki, sorry, but I'm going to ga, but he couldn't finish because Izuku interrupted him. Izuku, nice try, Todoroki, but that won't work on me. He said, flying ahead and picking up speed. Todoroki, TSK, more people escaped than I thought. He said, looking back. Mineta, I'm ahead of you, Todoroki, how pathetic. He said, bouncing on his balls. Mineta was about to throw his balls at Todoroki but was met with a blow from a robot. Present mic, oh, the obstacles are showing up, starting with the first one, Robo Inferno, he shouted. Izuku, these are the robots from the entrance exam. This'll be easy. He said, freezing a robot and then destroying it with fire. Todoroki, when did you copy my quirk? He said, surprised. Izuku, I didn't copy yours. Mine is more powerful, cryokinesis and pyrokinesis. While you can only generate fire and ice, I control them at will. He said, looking at Todoroki with a smile. Todoroki was about to speak, but Izuku simply flew off, surprising the other classes. Extra 1, how many quirks does he have? He said, surprised. Extra 2, flying, controlling ice and fire, that's too much. He said, equally surprised. Toga, he's really showing off. Oh, by the way, his quirk isn't flying, it's controlling the air. She said, starting to run. Everyone stayed quiet, wondering if they could really defeat the green-haired boy. But they snapped out of their thoughts when they heard Present Mike's shout. Present Mike, amazing. Young Midorilla attacked and demonstrated his superiority with 2 moves. What elegance, just as expected from the top scorer in the entrance exam, he said excitedly. After hearing Present Mike, everyone started running again, coming to a conclusion: if they couldn't defeat Midorilla, they would give everything to catch the attention of the heroes. Present Mike, amazing. Most managed to surpass Robo Inferno, but how will they fare in the second obstacle, the fall? He shouted. Everyone began crossing the chasm using ropes, but Izuku flew across. Present Mike, no problem for the leader as he passes easily. Tell me, Eraserhead, what's his quirk? He shouted. Eraserhead, his quirk, he named it himself, Hands of God. It allows him to heal wounds, regenerate organs or amputated body parts, and the most notable ability is permanently copying quirks. He said, his face serious. Present Mike, wait, isn't that power too strong? The name fits perfectly, but isn't that like cheating? He shouted. Izuku, Momo Oruga, that was a secret. How dare you say it at a worldwide event, he shouted loudly and angrily. Aizawa, you never told me it was a secret, now deal with it. He said, smirking mockingly. Izuku, TSK, I guess there's nothing left to hide. Let's finish this. He said, increasing his speed and reaching the final test. Present Mike, alright, no time to be amazed by the young Midorilla's quirk. This is the last test, a minefield. He said, smiling. Toga, hee, after scolding Izu-kun for being careless, but for now, I need to focus on not getting eliminated. She said, running. Toga did the same as Izuku did in the anime, gaining an advantage over the other participants. Present Mike, this is astounding. Young Toga hasn't used her quirk throughout the race, yet she's still outperforming all the participants. He said, looking at Toga. Izuku, huh? Hey Miko-chan, I think you're going to come in second place, hee. He said, looking at Toga. Toga, don't get too confident. She said, stepping on Izuku and causing him to fall into the mines. Izuku, ouch. He said, feigning pain and starting to fly again. Present Mike, amazing. Young Toga has surpassed young Midorilla, everything indicates she will win the race, he said excitedly. Midnight, and the winner is young Midorilla, she said, surprised. Audience, ooh, they screamed. Midnight, next up is young Toga. She said excitedly. Izuku, hee, that was close. He said, wiping off sweat. Toga, for a moment, I thought I could win. She said, disheartened. Izuku, cheer up, you came in second without even using your quirk or fighting styles. He said, hugging Toga. Imagine both were wearing their UA sports uniforms. They were about to lean in for a tender kiss when they were interrupted by a shout. Bakugo, damn nerd, don't think for a second that winning this game makes you better than me. He said angrily. Todoroki, same goes for you, Midorilla. I will defeat you. He said coldly. Elsewhere. A foe, that quirk, it's going to be mine. He said, laughing maniacally. At Izuku's home. Inko, Izuku, Himiko, I'm so proud of both of you. You're amazing. She said, tears streaming down her face. Continuing with the sports festival, Midnight announces the race results. Place. 1 Izuku Midoriya. 2 Himiko Toga. 3 Shoto Todoroki. 4 Katsuki Bakugo. 5 Ibara Shiozaki. 42 Yuga Aoyama. Someone from Class 1B was eliminated, they're just extras XD. Midnight, alright, for the 42 who passed, don't relax yet. The real competition starts now. The next game is, she said, raising her whip and pointing at the screen. Izuku, cavalry battle. He said, surprised. Kaminari, I'm bad at those. He said, discouraged. Midnight, participants can form teams of 2 to 4 people. It's like a normal cavalry battle, but each student will be assigned points based on their previous game's performance. She said, taking off her glasses. Uraka, so each team will have different scores depending on who's in it. She said, analyzing the game. Midnight, don't interrupt me. Points range from just 5 for the last place to a whopping 10 million for the first place. She said, putting her glasses back on. Izuku, 10 million? He said, surprised. Toga, hee, that means no matter your rank in the race, if you defeat the first place, you win immediately. She said, laughing mockingly. Midnight, exactly, she said, licking her lips. Izuku, no one will want to be on my team. He said, with a dejected aura. Toga, hee, I'll go with you. She said, hugging Izuku from behind. Izuku, alright, now we just need 2 more. He said, accepting the hug. May, you stand out the most among the participants. Team up with me, first place person. She said, approaching Izuku closely. Izuku, huh? Who are you? He said, stepping back a bit. I'm Mei Hatsum from the support course. She said, taking off her glasses. Toga, oh, you're the weird gadgets girl. She said, pointing at Mei. Mei, nice to meet you. If I'm on your team, my babies will stand out and everyone will notice. She said, moving closer to Izuku again. Toga, hold on a moment, first, step away from my boyfriend a bit, and second, babies? She said, sounding confused, standing between them. Mei, we support course students create gadgets to aid heroes. She said, opening a briefcase. Toga, oh. You call your inventions babies. She said, approaching the briefcase. Mei, I've got lots of babies, I'm sure there's one you'll like. She said, smiling broadly. Izuku, you can join our team, but I'm not sure your babies will stand out that much. He said, eyeing a jetpack. Mei, since you're in first place, we'll definitely stand out, so no worries. She said, widening her eyes. Izuku, alright, now we just need one more person, and I know who it's going to be. He said, smiling. Toga, who? She said, confused. Izuku, Tokoyami, with his shadow, he can cover our blind spots. He said, smiling. Toga, but with your air control, you can create a shield that covers us, and we can pass without doing anything. She said, looking at Izuku. Izuku, yeah, but that would be boring. I want Hatsum-san's inventions to stand out. He said nervously. Toga, alright, but if we lose because of your overconfidence, it's on you. She said, pulling out a knife. Izuku, don't worry, we'll win. He said, sweating. Uraka will be on Shoji's team. In the anime, it was just Shoji, Mineta, and Tsuyu, so I'll add Uraka, but they'll still get eliminated XD. Midnight, alright, if you have your teams ready, begin, she yelled. Toga will have the bands, Izuku and Mei will be behind, and Tokoyami will be in front, just like in the anime. When Midnight said those words, all the teams went to attack Izuku's team. Izuku, hee, this is going to be fun, Miko-chan, he shouted. Toga, roger that. She said, activating the jetpack. Tetsu, she flew? Thanks to the support course, follow them. He said, pointing to Izuku's group. Hagakure, Jiro-chan, she said, pointing at Toga since they couldn't see her XD. Jiro, got it, she said, trying to strike them with her jacks. The jacks were about to hit Toga, but Dark Shadow intervened, blocking the attack. Izuku, awesome, Tokoyami-kun, he said excitedly. Tokoyami, well done, Dark Shadow, keep covering our blind spots. He said, looking back. Dark Shadow, roger that. He said, looking in various directions. Mei, we're landing. She said, activating boots that propelled them with air. Izuku, your inventions are amazing, Hatsum-san. He said, smiling. Mei, right? My babies are the best. She said, smiling a bit blushingly. Mineta, ha, we're not fighting, we're just tagging along on the side. He said, laughing dramatically. Izuku, Mineta? He said, confused because he couldn't see him. Toga, watch out, she said, watching as a Mineta ball was thrown. Izuku quickly created a small air shield, keeping the Mineta ball suspended in the air. Tokoyami, let's create some distance, they're surrounding us. He said, looking at Tetsu's team. Izuku, you're right, let's go, Miko-chan. He said with a big smile. Toga, roger that. She said, activating the jetpack again. Izuku's team was about to escape, but they were nearly hit by an explosion. Bakugo, damn nerd, don't let your guard down. He said, trying to snatch Izuku's band. Izuku, Tokoyami-kun, he said, looking at Bakugo. Dark Shadow, roger that. He said, blocking Bakugo's attack. Present Mike, he's separated from his teammates, that's allowed, he shouted. Midnight, it's a valid tactic, so it's allowed, but if he hits the ground, the game ends. She said, laughing. Toga, hey, Izu-kun, look, Bakugo lost his points. She said, laughing. Izuku, oh, you're right, but we can't focus on him. I don't want to get knocked out. He said, sounding a bit discouraged. Toga, hee, That's what happens when you're overconfident. But she was interrupted by a sudden turn. Izuku, oh, Todoroki is finally joining the fray. He said excitedly. Todoroki, Ida, go, he said, almost shouting. Toga, Izu-kun, be careful, not only Todoroki is coming for us. She said, noticing several teams surrounding them. Izuku, all right, I think it's time to show off a bit. He said, raising his hands. The 4 teams that were about to attack Izuku were just about to strike, but a powerful gust of wind stopped them and sent 3 of the teams flying. Izuku, ha ha, nice one, Todoroki. Just what I expected from you. He said, smiling. Todoroki, damn. He said, desperate because time was running out. Ida, Todoroki, I can only do this once, afterward, I'll be out of commission. Make sure to grab the points. He said, revving up his engines. Todoroki, got it. He said, getting ready. Toga, Izu-kun, be careful, they're preparing something. She said, looking seriously at Ida. Izuku, yeah, you're right, but he was cut off by a shout. Ida, reciproburst, he shouted, sprinting at an incredible speed. Izuku tried to react, but Ida's speed was so astonishing that he couldn't. Todoroki, got it. He said, showing the band he took from Toga. Izuku, damn. He said, surprised. Toga, Izu-kun, we have less than a minute, what do we do? She said, sounding nervous. Tokoyami, Midoriya, whatever you're going to do it now. Bakugo is coming this way too. He said, looking back. Izuku, no problem, he said, activating his telekinesis quirk. Using his telekinesis quirk, Izuku stole all the bands from Todoroki, who was about to be eliminated, but Izuku spoke up again. Izuku, here, Todoroki, the final event is fights, so I'll defeat you in that game. He said, laughing and handing back some bands. Bakugo, don't be cocky, nerd, I'm the one who's going to defeat you. He said, propelling himself with explosions. Izuku, ha, hey, Bakugo. He said, shielding himself with an air barrier. Todoroki and Bakugo were about to attack Izuku again, Bakugo with his explosions and Todoroki activating his fiery side, but just then, Present Mike intervened. Present Mike, time's up. He declared, stopping the fight. Toga, dummy. You had me worried, I thought we were going to be eliminated. She said, hitting Izuku. Izuku, I told you this would be easy. He said in a chibi mode. Tokoyami, no, you didn't. He said, hiding dark shadow. Izuku, let's forget about that, we made it through. He said, laughing. May, yes, thanks to you, first place. Now I can showcase my babies in the final fights. She said, taking Toga's jetpack off. Izuku, you're welcome. He said, smiling. Present Mike, alright, let's see the 4 teams moving on to the next round. He said, pointing at the screen. Places. 1 Izuku Midoriya's team. 2 Katsuki Bakugo. 3 Hitoshi Shinso. 4 Shoto Todoroki. Present Mike, the teams that made it through will have a 30-minute break, so you can leave. He shouted. Izuku and Toga were heading to the cafeteria for lunch, but as they walked, they were interrupted. Todoroki, I was overwhelmed, so much so that I broke my promise not to use my father's fire. I was completely outdone, but I won't lose in the fights, so don't get too confident. He said, with a cold gaze. Izuku, I told you before, if you only use 50% of your power, you won't even be able to touch me. He said, continuing to walk. Izuku and Toga went to eat, and afterwards, they were walking back towards the stadium when they were interrupted by Endeavor. Izuku, more trouble follows me. Miko-chan, go ahead to the stadium, I'll talk to hero number 2. He said, stopping in his tracks. Toga, alright, I'll wait for you at the stadium, Izu-kun. She said, leaving. Izuku, so, what does hero number 2 need? He asked, his expression serious. Endeavor, I want you to make my son use my side, he's my perfect weapon to surpass AM, so he has to win this. He said arrogantly. Izuku, your weapon? Your side? Don't talk nonsense. He's not a weapon, nor is he your side, he has his own power, and that's what he needs to understand. Todoroki has different purposes than you. He's not Endeavor, so that's what I'm going to do, make him see reason. he said defiantly. Endeavor remained motionless, and Izuku left to avoid causing any problems. Present Mike, alright, the break is over, but before we continue with the tournament, we'll have some recreational games for the students who didn't make it through. He shouted. Izuku was looking for Toga but couldn't find her, so he decided to ask his classmates. Izuku, hey guys, have you seen Miko-chan? He asked, a bit confused. Kirishima, Mina called all the girls, and they went off with her. He said, smiling at Izuku. Izuku, oh, I see what that's about. But he was interrupted. Kirishima, look, Izu bro, there she is. He said, pointing to the stadium courtyard. Izuku was stunned to see Toga in a cheerleader outfit. Izuku, hey, Miko-chan, why are you dressed like this? He said, looking at Toga. Toga, well, Momo told me that Mineta and Kaminari said Aizawa mentioned that the girls should be cheerleaders. She said, looking at Izuku. Izuku fell silent and went over to Mineta and Kaminari. Mineta, wait, Midorilla, it wasn't us. But Izuku cut him off. Izuku, Mineta, Kaminari, thanks. He said, smiling. Kaminari, huh? Aren't you mad? He said, surprised. Izuku, no, that uniform looks good on Miko-chan, so it's a treat for the eyes. He said, looking at Toga again. Toga, hee, thanks, Izu-kun. She said, blushing. After that, everything unfolded similarly to the anime. Present Mike, alright, the recreational games are over, so let's get back to the tournament, the fights are up next. He said, pointing at the screen. Battles. Izuku vs Shinso. Todoroki vs Sero. Bakugo vs Toga. Ida vs Mei. Tetsu vs Kirishima. Tokoyami vs Momo. Mina vs Aoyama. Kaminari vs Ibara. Izuku, so, I'm up against the one who declared war on me, ha ha ha, this will be fun. He said, laughing a little. Ojiro, Izuku, I need to warn you about something regarding him. He said, calling out to Izuku. From here, it follows the same as in the anime, so I'll just narrate Izuku and Toga's battles. Present Mike, alright, we begin with the first battle. The student who has stood out purely by his presence, whose quirk may be the most powerful of the generation, the star student Izuku Midorilla, he said enthusiastically. At that moment, Izuku stepped forward with a broad smile. Present Mike, and his opponent, who has done nothing to stand out from the support course, Hitoshi Shinso, he shouted. Simultaneously, Shinso emerged with a confident smile. Midnight, begin, she declared, striking the ground with her whip. Shinso, don't you think it's pathetic to give up for such a lame excuse like honor? It disappoints me. He said, trying to provoke Izuku. Izuku remained silent because the Izuku in this story isn't foolish, and he did heed Ojiro's advice. Shinso, you have nothing to say? You're just as arrogant as your class. Just because you have that amazing quirk, everyone admires you, but you'll never know what it's like to be judged solely by your quirk. He said, attempting to provoke Izuku. Izuku didn't respond, he simply stood there listening to Shinso's nonsense. Shinso, your class is garbage, especially that blonde. I think she's the most useless in your class, she hasn't even shown her quirk and thinks she can win without trying. But he got punched and was knocked out of the arena. Midnight, Hitoshi Shinso is out of the arena. The battle is over, and the winner is Izuku Midorilla. She said, somewhat annoyed with Shinso. Izuku, don't pat yourself on the back so much. You don't know what Miko-chan has been through. Her parents tried to kill and abandon her at the age of 4 because her quirk was supposedly villainous. I know you've been discriminated against for the same reason, but that doesn't give you the right to insult someone without knowing their life. He said angrily, leaving everyone in shock. Izuku walked away without saying another word. The audience was silent and even angry at Shinso for his harsh words, but they were pulled from their thoughts by Aizawa. Aizawa, the audience who is upset with Hitoshi Shinso should calm down. I assure you, the student said those words only to provoke Izuku Midorilla, but his words were not directed at you. You should mature and understand the reason why Shinso said those words. He said sternly, not at Shinso but at the audience. Present Mike, Eraserhead is right, the tournament must continue. He shouted. From here, the audience calmed down, and the battles continued as in the anime until Toga vs Bakugo. Midnight, alright, this will be the final battle of this first round. She said, cracking her whip against the ground. Present Mike. Next up, the student who has managed to get this far without using her quirk, the young Himiko Toga, he said excitedly. At that moment, Toga appeared, smiling. Present Mike, and her opponent, whose personality and quirk are equally explosive, the young Katsuki Bakugo, he shouted. Midnight, begin, she declared loudly. Bakugo immediately launched himself at Toga with his explosions, but she easily dodged and unexpectedly struck Bakugo, sending him staggering back. Bakugo, I'll take care of you, he said, preparing an explosion. Toga, try me, she said, looking at him seriously. Bakugo unleashed his explosion, but Toga dodged, creating a large cloud of smoke. Bakugo, where are you? He said, looking in all directions. Toga, here, she said, behind Bakugo. Toga tried to knock out Bakugo with a single blow, but Bakugo countered with an explosion, damaging Toga and sending her flying. Kaminari, he hit her after seeing her. With that response time, it doesn't matter if he loses sight of her, he said, surprised. Kirishima, it's impossible for her to win, he said, watching the fight. Izuku, I don't think so. She has my blood, but she's stubborn and wants to win without using it, he said, watching the fight. Kirishima, I get it. She wants to win on her own, not just because of your quirk, he said, watching the fight. Bakugo and Toga continued fighting, Bakugo launching explosions and Toga trying to hit him, but both evading each other's attacks. Toga, damn, I can't get close, she said, dodging an explosion. Bakugo, this ends here, he said, charging up a massive explosion. Toga, damn, if that hits me, I'm done for, she said, stressed. Izuku, Miko-chan, use my blood. It's not about whether you can beat him with your strength, show your parents that a quirk doesn't decide if you're a villain or not, he said, looking at Toga. Toga, but since I'll use your power just this once, Izu-kun, she said, pulling out a vial from her suit. Toga drank Izuku's blood and transformed, but at that moment, Bakugo launched his explosion. Present Mike, looks like we have a winner, he said, watching the smoke caused by Bakugo's explosion. The smoke began to clear, but everyone was surprised to see Izuku standing on the platform, shielding himself with a shield. Midnight, wait, young Midorilla interfered, even if they're dating, it's prohibited. Both are disqualified, she said, surprised. Izuku, Midnight Sensei, it's not me, it's Miko-chan, he said, jumping so they could see him. Midnight, but how? She said, looking at the original Izuku. Toga, it's my quirk, she said, deactivating the shield. Bakugo, TSK, he said, trying to explode Toga. Toga, let's finish this, she said, with a serious look. Bakugo launched his explosion, but it missed, and he couldn't say anything because he started to float. Bakugo, damn, he said, struggling to free himself. Midnight, it's over. Katsuki Bakugo is off the platform, Himiko Toga wins, she said, excited. The audience started cheering and complimenting Toga. Izuku, Yaoyorosu-san, can you make clothes for Miko-chan? He said, smiling. Momo, of course, she said, starting to create clothes. Izuku, thank you, he said, receiving the clothes. Izuku went to the platform and created an ice capsule, covering them both. Everyone was confused but didn't say anything. Izuku, you were amazing, Miko-chan. Oh, right, take this, he said, handing her the clothes with a smile. Toga, hee, thanks Izu-kun, she said, hugging him. Izuku, wait, Miko-chan, you only took a little of my blood, you're going to transform back. But he couldn't finish because Toga started to transform. Toga, oh, wow, hee, she said with a mischievous look. Izuku just covered his eyes and was redder than Kirishima's hair. Toga, hee, you're so cute when you're embarrassed, she said, kissing the green-haired boy. After that sweet scene, Toga let go of Izuku and dressed herself. Izuku destroyed the capsule, and the audience saw them, a bit confused, Izuku blushing deeply and Toga with a big smile. Present Mike, alright, the first round is over. After a short break, we'll start the next matches, he said, excited. After the break, Izuku and Todoroki stepped onto the platform with serious looks. Midnight, alright, begin, she shouted. Todoroki immediately launched a huge ice pillar, but it was destroyed by a punch from Izuku, OFA. They continued like this, Todoroki throwing ice pillars and Izuku destroying them. Though it strained his fingers, they healed instantly. Todoroki, why don't you attack, Midorilla? He said, tired. Izuku, if you're not going to use all your power, neither will I. Your body is wearing down, you can counterbalance it with your fire side. If not, this will end soon. He said, punching another ice pillar. Todoroki, nonsense, my old man didn't buy you. I won't use it, I'll prove to that bastard I can be the best with just my mother's quirk. He said, exhausted. Izuku, no one bought me. Listen, Todoroki, like I told you, everyone's giving 100% to be heroes. You're saying you'll use just 50%? Nonsense. Tell me something, if you're fighting a villain and can't defeat them with your ice, will you let several people get hurt or even die because of your stubbornness? He said, relaxed. Todoroki, I'll be a hero, but only with my mother's power. He said, shouting. Izuku, nonsense, Todoroki. Listen, it's not your mother's power or your father's power, it's your own power. Use it and surpass your limits. It's about the feelings of the people who trust you. He said, also shouting. At that moment, Todoroki began to remember his childhood and then in his thoughts saw his mother, causing him to ignite his fire side. Izuku, awesome, Todoroki. That's the spirit. He said, already taking a combat stance. Endeavor, Shatou. Finally, you've accepted it. He said, happy. Izuku, you know, Todoroki, this has gone on long enough. Let's end this with one attack. He said, smiling. Todoroki, alright. He said, charging a strong blaze. Izuku powered up Ofa in his arm to 100%, not underestimating Todoroki. Todoroki, Midorilla, thanks. He said, smiling. Izuku and Todoroki launched their attacks, causing a massive explosion and a lot of smoke. Present Mike, wow, a final attack. It's amazing. Who will win? Who will move on to the next round? He said, intrigued. The smoke began to disperse, revealing one figure on the platform and another embedded in the wall. Midnight, it's over. The winner of the match is Todoroki. No, just kidding. Let's try again. Midnight, it's over. Young Todoroki is out of the platform. The winner of the match is Izuku Midorilla. She said, licking her lips. The audience cheered even more excitedly. As the smoke fully dispersed, Izuku was seen without the upper part of his suit, causing women to blush and shout vulgar compliments, which annoyed Toga. Ignoring the catcalls, Izuku went to where Todoroki was and healed him. Since Todoroki was unconscious, Izuku carried him to the infirmary for rest. Toga won her fight against Tokoyami and Kirishima by erasing her presence and knocking them out cold. Izuku froze Ida, winning their match. Present Mike, finally, the last fight of this tournament will begin. And who would have guessed, the final match is between UA's favorite couple. How will Himiko manage to win this match? We'll find out soon, he said excitedly. Midnight, begin, she exclaimed eagerly. Izuku, no attack quirk, right, Miko-chan? He said, smiling. Toga, hee hee, if I can't win by limiting your abilities, I'll cry. She laughed. Izuku, hee hee, don't worry. Second place isn't bad either. He said, rushing to attack Toga. Toga, yeah, but I won't settle for second, she said, also running towards Izuku. They began exchanging blows, dodging some and landing others, with Toga connecting more hits in close combat. Izuku, haha, I admit it. You're much better than me in hand-to-hand combat, but I won't lose easily. He said, trying to grab Toga. Toga, hee hee, that's what happens when you only focus on training your quirk. She said, evading Izuku's grasp. Izuku, just 5 seconds, and I'll win. Let me give you a hug. He said, laughing. Toga, forget it. I know your abilities better than anyone. She said, laughing. Izuku and Toga continued exchanging blows, but in a moment of carelessness from Toga, Izuku managed to grab her. Toga knew he wouldn't let go, but she saw an opening and quickly tried to hit Izuku's neck. However, he activated his fire quirk, burning Toga's hand. Izuku absorbed Toga's energy, causing her to fall to her knees exhausted. Toga, cheater. She said, falling asleep. Midnight, young Toga can't continue. Izuku Midorilla is the winner of the sports festival, she said excitedly. The audience cheered even louder and started throwing confetti. Present Mike, now, all events of the festival have concluded. The winner of this year's festival is young Izuku Midorilla, he shouted excitedly. Midnight, all events have ended. Now, we'll begin the award ceremony. She said, raising her hands. A platform emerged from the floor, where the top 3 contestants stood calmly. Midnight, the medals will be presented by this man. She said, excitedly. Ha ha ha. I brought the medals for the festival's best. He said, landing after a big jump. Young Tokoyami, take the 3rd place medal. You truly are strong. He said, handing over the medal. Tokoyami, and kind. Thank you, he said, bowing his head for the medal to be placed. Congratulations, young Toga. You have great potential, but with a weapon, you would improve extraordinarily. He said, handing her the medal. Toga, understood, and thank you, she said, bowing her head for the medal to be placed. Young Midorilla, well done on fulfilling the words you said during the oath. You were the best in this festival, finishing first in all events. You should be proud of yourself. He said, giving Izuku the medal. Izuku, thank you, but I won with cheating, so I don't think I deserve it. He said, bowing his head for the medal to be placed. Well, they are the winners this year, but anyone here could win next year. Don't give up and surpass your limits together now. Audience, plus ultra, they shouted. Thank you very much for your great effort. He said, raising his fist. Audience, what? You should have shouted plus ultra, they shouted. But they put in so much effort. He said, nervously touching his fingers like a schoolgirl.